The problem with misinformation for a democracy is that it harms our ability to govern ourselves.
In today's fast-paced digital world, we are constantly bombarded with information. The continual circulation of disinformation opens the door for the spread of what is known as misinformation.
Misinformation is false information that is shared without knowing that it's false. Disinformation, with the D, is information that's created to purposely deceive.
I've noticed a lot on my news feed the misinformation, and kind of going back and checking sources and seeing where there were discrepancies or cut videos and stuff like that.
I would say there's a lot of misinformation just on social media and the news often too.
So people create disinformation, which then when shared becomes misinformation, for clicks. And those clicks could be for two reasons. The more clicks that you have on a website, the more you can charge an advertiser to place an ad on your website. The other reason that clicks are at the heart of it is not monetary, but it's for information chaos. It's ideological. And the goal is to confuse people, to make them begin to doubt all information, even the information that's valid and authentic.
Our nation deals with many polarizing topics daily, making it easier for misinformation to spread.
The fast spread of it and the viral nature of disinformation is definitely through social media. The number one reason that people share false information is because it makes them angry. Again, remembering that we don't always know that it's false information, but when we see a piece of information come through and it instills in us anger, a sense of injustice, that is the reason that people share the most on social media.
I would say I fact check 85% of the time when I'm looking at news. I will fact check it when it applies to me. I tend not to fact check things if it does not have as much applicability to me or a group that I'm a part of.
I can't say I'm one that's too tuned into the news very often, but I have definitely before. It's one of those things, if you read an article headline and it just sounds ridiculous, it's probably because it isn't true.
Especially with the election coming up, I like to fact check a little bit with what's happening, but I would want to do more fact checking.
With so much information swirling around, it can be tough to separate fact from fiction, but there are ways to spot the red flags.
Most people don't read beyond the headlines. When you are scrolling through your feed and see something that you want to share, just pause for a minute and ask yourself, why do I want to share this? And how do I know that it is worth sharing in the sense of being accurate? Count the number of emotional words in the post, whether it's clickbait, whether it's in the caption. Look for the triggers that are trying to get you to rely on your emotion and not your critical thinking. And then the third thing is look for a source. Look for an actual, verifiable bit of evidence, a person behind it with a title and a name you can check. It doesn't take long. So you're going to pause, you're going to count the emotional words in the post or the headline, and then you're going to count the sources. And if you can't find a source or more than one, all three of those are factors that should tell you, I'm not going to share this.
I think it's really hard to detect misinformation. You have to know at least a little bit about the news ahead of time to understand whether it's going to be misinformation or not.
It's kind of hard when you're having a conversation with somebody. Kind of goes back to the whole, if it sounds ridiculous, it probably isn't true.
I'm not gonna lie, I would look at the comments, especially if it's on TikTok. I would look at the comments because sometimes the comments will tell you this is a lie.
Even with the right tools, some people may still fall victim to misinformation. So what can we do to support those who've been misled and help encourage their skepticism?
I think all of us know someone in our lives that that we're concerned about in terms of their gullibility to believe dis and misinformation. There are studies that show it can be done. We can especially if you're with a roommate, a significant other, a parent, or a loved one who really seems disturbingly so believing mis and disinformation. Research shows that the best way to approach that is in small bits. Do not put them on the defensive. Don't tell them how dumb they are to believe this. Don't tell them how in the world, don't attack them. Just poking away at their belief structure in terms of with evidence, documentation, data, beginning to try and encourage their skepticism and critical thinking instead of just blind acceptance of any kind of information without evidence.
In a world where information is everywhere and in everything, it's more important than ever to be vigilant and discerning.
Look it up. Look at sources that you trust and that are known for giving the correct information. Don't trust anything, especially on TikTok.
I'd say to never get anything from one specific source, because if all of your information comes from one place all the time and that's it, that can never be good, even if it's like a trusted source.
I would say just do your due diligence, like do your research, I guess. Don't trust anything off rip, you know.
We're all in this together, and we are all doing our best to manage a sea of information. Being skeptical is a good thing. How do I know? Prove it. That's skepticism, and that's a great tool. Ask yourself, how do I know? How do I know? There's a great saying with the Chicago City News Bureau that the editors used to say, if your mother says she loves you, check it out. We have the benefit of a transparent democracy, but it's not going to be healthy if we don't have accurate information.
In Kalamazoo, I'm Aidan Ralko, Western Herald.